Okay, let's imagine something for a second. Picture two major world powers,
Yeah.
right? And they each have their own goals, their own issues. But they make big moves, maybe even moves that change global security at the exact same time.
That's quite a thought. A sobering one.
It really is. And maybe, just maybe, it's closer than we think. So today we're doing a deep dive into something specific, a pretty serious warning that came out recently.
Right. This is from the new NATO Supreme Allied Commander in Europe, General Alexis Krinkovich.
Exactly. He's talking about a potential parallel approach, if you will, from Russia and China. And that just raises a ton of questions.
It certainly does. About stability, what conflict even means today.
Yeah. So our mission here for this deep dive is really to unpack the intelligence that's pointing towards maybe a 2027 timeline for something like this.
And to look at what modern conflict really involves, because it's not always straightforward.
Not like the movies, right?
Correct.
We want you, listening, get a quick grasp of these ideas, connect some dots, and really see what this might mean for, well, everyone.
Okay, so starting with the warning itself, what General Krinkovich seems to be flagging isn't, Russia and China launching some kind of coordinated joint attack.
Okay, that's an important distinction.
It's crucial. He's talking about simultaneous moves. So the scenario is more like Russia making a significant play in Europe, maybe occupying some territory,
While at the same time.
while China makes its move on Taiwan. Simultaneous actions, but driven by separate objectives, not a joint campaign. That's the core idea.
Okay, that paints a clearer and maybe even more complex picture. So the obvious next question is that date, 2027.
Yeah, where does that come from?
Is it just a guess, or is there something more solid behind it?
No, it's definitely not speculation. That 2027 figure stems from pretty concrete estimates coming out of intelligence services.
Based on what kind of intelligence?
Well, for a while now, they've been watching Russia's economy very closely, and it seems Russia has, pretty much converted large parts of its economy to a war footing.
A full war economy, essentially.
To a very large extent, yes. And what's really telling is the production output. They're churning out military gear, ammunition, at a rate that's way beyond what they currently need just for the war in Ukraine.
Huh. A surplus. So if they're making more than they need for Ukraine,
Exactly. What's the plan for all that extra capacity?
where's it going? What's the intention?
Precisely. And that surplus is what the intelligence services are keying in on. The deduction is that this isn't just about meeting today's needs.
It signals something bigger.
It strongly suggests they're building capability, getting ready for potentially other major conflicts, maybe in Europe. And the timeline suggests they could reach that point of readiness around 2027. It points towards, future options, wider ambitions.
And the person saying this, General Krinkovich, the new Saisier, let's talk about him for a moment. Why should we pay particular attention when he speaks?
Right. So General Krinkovich, he's an Air Force officer, and he just took over the CACR role from General Cawley.
Okay.
But his previous job is really key here. He was the Director Joint Staff.
Director Joint Staff. What does that involve?
Well, think of it this way. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff is the top military officer in the U.S. The Director Joint Staff runs the entire support structure, the operational planning, everything for that chairman.
Wow. So massive access to information.
Unparalleled access. We're talking top-tier intelligence from every branch, every agency. It puts him in a very good intelligence position. He gets the deep insights into intentions, capabilities, the whole picture.
So when someone with that background issues a warning like this.
Listen, it's not just an opinion. It's based on some of the best intelligence available globally.
Okay, but here's where I see a potential, maybe an apparent contradiction. Help me square this.
Go ahead.
We often hear Western intelligence describe China as, not usually seeking direct military confrontation, right? Yeah. Despite the South China Sea stuff and obviously Taiwan.
Generally, yes, that's been the assessment, though their actions are getting more assertive.
And at the same time, other recent reports suggest a direct, large-scale Russian military attack on NATO itself is actually, quote, unlikely.
That's also true. Those reports exist.
So how do we reconcile those assessments with this very serious warning from Krinkovich about simultaneous Russian and Chinese moves? Seems like a conflict.
It does seem like one, but it gets right to the core of his point, I think. The issue is our definition of war.
How so?
We tend to think of war, maybe because of Hollywood or history books, as tanks rolling across borders, planes and dogfights, kinetic force on force.
The traditional view.
Exactly. And that's a very narrow view today. The critical insight Krinkovich seems to be highlighting is that nations wage conflict using all the tools they have.
All available means.
Every single one. It's not just about the military anymore. Think cyber attacks, economic pressure, disinformation campaigns, political interference, hybrid tactics, these small, deniable provocations.
So war is a much broader concept now.
It has to be understood that way to grasp the current threats. That's how you reconcile the apparent contradiction. It's not necessarily about a WWII-style invasion.
Okay, that helps frame it. So if Russia isn't necessarily planning, say, a massive tank push into NATO, what might these other means look like in Europe? You can get more specific.
Absolutely. Let's take a concrete example, the Narva scenario.
Narva, that's in Estonia, right? On
Yeah.
the border.
That's right. Northern Estonia, border town, has a large Russian-speaking population. We know Putin likes to test boundaries.
Push the envelope, see what happens.
See how the West reacts, how far he can go without triggering a massive response, like Article 5. So maybe Russia doesn't invade all of Estonia. Maybe they engineer an incident or even occupy a tiny piece of Narva.
Just a sliver. Why?
It's not about conquest in that scenario. It's about creating a huge problem for NATO. How do you respond? A limited incursion presents a massive strategic dilemma. It forces NATO to react, uses up resources, maybe divides the allies on the right response. It tests resolve.
Ah, okay. It's about provocation and creating difficult choices.
Precisely. Testing the system.
So Narva is one possibility. Are there other specific flashpoints people talk about in this context?
Yes, definitely. Another key one is the Suwalki Gap.
I've heard of that, the land corridor.
Exactly. It's that narrow strip of land, strategically vital, between Belarus, which is allied with Russia, and Kaliningrad.
Kaliningrad being the Russian territory sort of detached, surrounded by Lithuania and Poland.
Correct. And Putin has apparently long wanted a land bridge connecting Kaliningrad through Belarus to Russia proper. The Suwalki Gap is that potential bridge.
So what could Russia do there, short of a full invasion?
Well, they could easily cause incidents. Think hybrid warfare, maybe stirring unrest, cyber disruptions targeting infrastructure in the gap, maybe small-scale, deniable military provocations, things designed to destabilize the area.
And a strategic goal there.
If they could effectively control or disrupt the Suwalki Gap, it would make it incredibly difficult for NATO to reinforce the Baltic states, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania by land. It could effectively isolate them.
Wow. Okay, that would be a huge strategic blow to NATO.
Immense. It would fundamentally alter the security calculus on NATO's eastern flank.
So these kinds of incidents, these other means, the small incursion in Narva, stirring trouble in Suwalki, what does that mean for NATO and Europe more broadly,
Yes.
strategically?
Well, the immediate NATO response, based on existing plans, would be rapid deployment. Moving forces quickly to the eastern flank to counter whatever's happening to show resolve.
Okay, reinforcement.
But here's the knock-on effect. Think about countries further west, like Germany, the Netherlands, Belgium. They're sort of the hinterland in this context.
Right.
Many of them don't currently maintain large standing armies ready for immediate deployment at home. Their deployable forces would likely be sent east.
Leaving their own territory
Yeah.
vulnerable.
Exactly. It leaves their home countries more exposed. And that creates, well, free play for Russian intelligence services back in those Western European nations.
Free play. What does that look like?
Increased espionage, for sure, but also potentially more disruptive actions. Think cyber attacks targeting critical infrastructure power grids, communication networks, transportation systems, or sophisticated disinformation campaigns aimed at creating panic, confusion, undermining trust in governments right when unity is needed most.
So the pressure isn't just on the front line. It's designed to ripple back through society.
It's a multi-layered approach. Pressure on the flank, disruption in the rear is part of that broader definition of conflict we talked about.
This really does shift the perspective, doesn't it? This whole deep dive, it forces us to look beyond just military hardware.
Absolutely. It moves past that old view of direct confrontation being the only form of conflict.
And shows how nations are using, well, everything in their toolbox. Subtle moves, testing reactions, exploiting weaknesses wherever they find them.
And if you connect that broader idea back to the main warning, the simultaneous moves by Russia and China, it suggests a period of potentially intense, multi-domain pressure on the international system.
Yeah. It underlines that being prepared today isn't just about having soldiers and tanks ready.
Not at all. It's just as much about societal resilience. How robust are our defenses against disinformation? How secure is our critical infrastructure from cyber threats? How cohesive is society when faced with these kinds of pressures?
Right. Which brings us to a final thought for you, our listener. If war or conflict now really includes all these subtle provocations, these boundary tests, this exploitation of vulnerabilities across society, how should you rethink what preparedness actually means?
It's not just a question for the military or governments, is it? It touches on information literacy, cybersecurity awareness, maybe even community cohesion.
Exactly. What new questions does this deeper understanding raise for you? Something to definitely ponder.